Right, so welcome to the code demonstration. So I'm just going to quickly run through basically how does the chatbot search and find the answers and how does it display them. So the core classes that we're going to be discussing is the chatbot class uh, and the search class and then the user input class. So the user input class essentially just allows us to get the string user input, right? And then this is returned. This user input is returned, and then this user input is then used here, right, as a parameter. And then here we create an object of this class, of the hard-coded responses class. We create this object called responses. So now this responses allows us to access the fields of the array of objects, right, which are defined within the chatbot class. So these are the fields. So the fields are just here. So we have the keyword and then we have the responses. So now, because we have the responses and the keywords, now when we are mapping them here within the chatbot, within this hard-coded responses class, we see that these are the two string conditions that are expected here within this array. So when we're storing each of these in the array, it has to be the data type has to be both string, but the order matters because we want to map using the keyword and then the response. So that's the essential logic. So when we get a keyword, we should then be able to return a response. So that's the logic behind the search algorithm. So we essentially just check if the user input contains a keyword. So the keyword, again, to reiterate, it's defined here as a field, right? So we're accessing this keyword using this object, right, which is of the chatbot class, right? Again, chatbot class, and we're accessing it. We're accessing the fields of that using that object, right? So now when we're searching, we essentially just do a basic string comparison, ordinal case, and then if not found, right, it'll prompt the user to tell them that they don't have that information on that user's input, right? So that user input, again, which is defined here, we then tell them no, we don't. We are not able to essentially find that response. So we're also storing the last response from using this get response method here, right? So when we have this get response method, we're essentially trying to store it in a reusable variable that we can then reuse within our application's logic to display maybe archives. Yeah, but it's still in development. Okay, so now within this for loop here, we're just basically iterating through the responses using the responses object, which is defined, which is of type hard-coded responses. And because it's of type hard-coded responses, we're able to access the array of hard-coded responses, and then we are able to get the length of it, and then we're able to iterate and then display all of the keywords. So this one is essentially our if not found condition. So if the user does not find anything, it basically shoves all the responses that are within the hard-coded responses array into the users, for the user to see. And then here, this one is more niche because it checks if it contains, right? Yeah, and then it's essentially, then it calls upon this display chatbot response function here, right? Which is of course of type chatbot, right? Yeah, it's of type chatbot. And then so now we're able to then essentially get a print of all of the of the matching keywords, and the corresponding responses typed in by the user. So that's essentially the whole searching logic, but everything else is quite relatively straightforward. For example, the Visual ASCII, it just uses Figure font class, and then we selected our slants more, and then we just essentially just rendered here. We just duplicated the same logic here, but now we have just have a different font. And then yeah, so this one is for farewell. So this function is for farewell. Yeah, and some animations, and then user input just basically stores this variable in the user input, and then we have our chatbot voice, which takes in a WAV file in its parameters, and then it plays this using placing on the player object of the sound player class, and then of course there's some error ending. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then we have the goodbye. So the goodbye is essentially so now we have this file here, right? And then the goodbye voice is the same function, and then that same function we're essentially just now saying goodbye. Yeah, yeah. I could have overridden this, but yeah, still not sure how to do that in C sharp, but I'll do it when I learn it. And then within which other class would be nice to see. So this one, it's attributed to an external developer who was from Russia. So I saw his code on the internet, so I just modified it so that it works for me, because it was too big. The way he did it was too big, so just added some original picture width and these conditions so that we can adjust uh, yeah, the size of the image. So this is basically the image that we see when the application loads.